Anthony Darnell.
Hey, welcome back to the Anthony Darnell channel. I'm, of course, Anthony Darnell, and on this channel, I talk about everything in life, man. You know, the fun stuff, the hard stuff, the sad stuff, the happy stuff. You know, the things that really make you think, the things that really make you feel. So if you're not a current subscriber, please feel inclined to join the Good Vibe Tribe. Click the subscribe and help me live like these rappers off that YouTube money. Give me a thumbs up too. And if you have any comments or questions pertaining to the topic discussed in this video, leave it in the comment section below. Now, in this one, I'm going to talk about God. What does God mean to you? What feelings or thoughts does it elicit from you? Does it bring forth from you when you hear the term God or the word God? Now, for many different people, it can mean many different things, especially like if you're coming from a certain religion. The word God can mean so many different things to you. Now, for me, coming from, I was raised in the Christian faith and I grew up being a Christian. And so for me, God meant something totally different than what it means for me now. Because back when I was a Christian, God meant, it felt like there was a lot of boundaries in my life and I felt a lot of fear, a fear for doing certain things or thinking a certain way because of how I perceived God. I viewed God as the angry, vengeful God, or I was always afraid where if I died in my sins, I was going to hell. Or if I did certain sins, it just, it felt like God would look at me harder. I would be condemned. And it was just like a lot of things within, back when I was in Christian faith, that conflicted, especially when you read through the Bible, and you read the New Testament versus the Old Testament. There are things that conflict with one another. And, it was just very confusing from an energetic level, from a spiritual level, from a religious level. And as I expanded out of Christianity and evolved more into spirituality, for me, God was a freeing term. God was an empowering term. God was a liberating term. Because now, as it stands now, God, for me, means the greater power that we're all connected to. Because and I'm going to reference back when I was Christianity, where they said, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. So now that I've, moved on from just being Christian and more spiritual, that still resonates with me because greater is the God power that is in me than everything that is around me. Because even when we're talking about manifesting, and I know on this channel, I used to talk about manifesting a lot. In regards to manifesting, they teach you that you are the operant power. You have the power. You are the God of your 3D reality, right? And so when you go back to that religious text and it says, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, that means that pretty much that God force, that God power is already within you and is greater than anything that you're going through in the world. It's greater than any challenge that you're facing in the world. And you have the power to change your reality. So, once I expanded and I took away the he, because for me, God is more of a sexless force energy being, because why would God have a sex? You feel me? If God is God, God to me is like the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, rolled into one, encompassed into one. Because if we are aspects of God, right? And God created male and female, right? That's what I feel. I feel like we are different aspects of God. And once we come together, once our energy is together, that is the complete God. So for me, God is sexless. God is ageless. God has no boundaries. God is more like, and I know this sounds corny, but I kind of like the way that the Force is portrayed in Star Wars, because, Star Wars, the Force, that seems like God in the Star Wars universe, so I liken how we can connect to God, how we're connected to God, to those being connected to the Force. So basically, we're already connected to God. So for me, when I hear the term God, I think inclusiveness, I think connection, I think the perfect master manifester that is God. I think the driving force that connects us all is God. I think, when I hear the term God, it also allows me to feel more responsible for some of the actions I make, because if God is within me and I have the power to change certain things, and it's my responsibility. Because back when I was in Christianity, they teach you to pray without ceasing and keep praying and keep leaning to God to do things for you. And a lot of times I felt so helpless and needy, because I was just like, oh, if it didn't work out, well, it wasn't God's will, or it wasn't God's time, it wasn't my season, or maybe it's something I'm doing, maybe it's certain sins I'm doing, and that's why God isn't blessing me. Or like I would feel bad if I didn't put money in the offering plate, or I couldn't pay my tithes for that week, and I just felt like, oh, God isn't going to bless me now. I felt condemned. And I'm not completely knocking Christianity, because there were a lot of things that I took away from it that have helped me later in life. So there is a lot of truth in it. But for me, it's like I needed to see the whole picture. I needed to see the whole map and not just a piece of the map. And so that's why now God, I take responsibility. It's not, oh, it wasn't my season, or, maybe it wasn't God's will. No, maybe I wasn't properly aligned with who I needed to be to receive these things. So now that I've taken more responsibility, now that I have a different view of what God is, now I see things in a different light. And I would like to hear from other people. Like, let's say you're of the Islamic faith. Let me know what God means to you. Or let's say you're an atheist and you have no faith. You don't even believe in God. What does the word God mean to you? Does it make you feel oppressed when you hear the word God, or does it not bother you? Or does it, have no effect on you at all? Or let's say you're of the Catholicism, faith, or let's say you're of Hinduism or some other religion that I haven't mentioned. What does God mean to you? Feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and we'll talk more about it in the comment section. So until next time, guys, keep loving your heart, peace in your path. Anthony Darnell, out.